All right, let's talk about the GRI professional certification. If you're still thinking it's just some niche thing for sustainability report writers, you got to catch up because, wow, that idea is, well, it's just dangerously out of date. We're going to break down exactly how this thing is morphed from a simple credential into an absolute strategic powerhouse for 2026 and well beyond.
Okay, so let's get right into the heart of this shift. You see the two columns here, right? The old view? That was easy. GRI was just a checkbox, something you handed off to the CSR team, corporate social responsibility. But look over at the 2026 view. It's a whole different ballgame. We're talking about a strategic power move. This is where finance, legal, risk management, even investor relations, they all come together. This isn't about just reporting anymore. Nope. This is about your company's fundamental credibility.
So you have to ask, right? What's driving this seismic shift? I mean, why the sudden, massive change in how important this is? How did we go from a simple reporting tool to a strategic weapon in the boardroom? Well, let's dig in and unpack the big misunderstandings that are out there.
Okay, myth number 1. This is probably the biggest and honestly the most damaging one. The idea that GRI is just a checklist. This is the mental model, the mindset that trips up so many professionals right from the get-go. And in this quote, yeah, it's pretty blunt, and for good reason. If you treat the GRI standards like a simple to-do list, you're completely missing the point. You're missing the entire logic behind it. And honestly, it's a guaranteed way to not only fail the exam, but, more importantly, to fail when you try to apply this stuff in the real world. So to really get a grip on this, you have to understand this one core concept, the Impact First framework. Now, I know it sounds like jargon, but stick with me, because this isn't just some buzzword. It is the entire foundation of GRI. It's a whole new way of thinking that forces a company to look outwards first, to take a hard, honest look at its real effects on the economy, the environment, and people. And this slide, this is where it really clicks. It shows the two different worlds, the two completely different logics. On one hand, you have your traditional financial frameworks, right? They start with what affects the company's bottom line, the enterprise value. They're basically asking, hey, is this going to hurt our profits? Simple enough. But GRI, it totally flips the script. It starts with a different question entirely. How does our company impact the world? And get this, it asks that even if those impacts aren't going to show up on the balance sheet right away. That is a huge difference in where you start, and trust me, the exam is going to test you again and again on whether you can truly think from that impact-first perspective.
All right, let's tackle the next big myth. A lot of people have this idea that GRI is off in its own little bubble, totally separate from all the other standards out there. But that's just not the case anymore. The reality is, its modern power comes from exactly the opposite, from convergence. GRI is now deeply intertwined with other huge players. We're talking about the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board, and Europe's massive new directive, the CSRD. It's not operating in a vacuum at all. In fact, it's become a foundational piece of this much, much larger global reporting ecosystem.
And here's the takeaway for you. You're not just being tested on GRI by itself. No way. You're being tested on your ability to see the whole chessboard. The exam demands that you understand how GRI plays with and how it differs from these other massive frameworks. It's all about context. Context is absolutely everything. All right, so we've busted a couple of big myths. So let's get to the real deal. What is the exam really testing? Because I can tell you, it's way more than just memorizing a bunch of rules. And this quote really nails it, bringing us right back to the main problem. People fail because they walk in with the wrong mental model. It's not about what you can cram into your brain, it's about how you think. Your success really hinges on adopting the right way to analyze these problems, which is exactly what we're about to break down.
Okay, pay close attention to this, because this is what the exam is really after. First up, governance. It's not just some box to tick. The exam sees it as the absolute core mechanism that proves everything else is credible. Second, the universal standards. You have to know them as a complete system, not just as a random list of topics. Third, and this is a big one that trips people up, you're going to get hit with scenario-based questions. Messy, imperfect, real-world situations where you have to apply your judgment. And finally, like we've been saying, it's all about those interconnections, knowing how GRI fits into the bigger picture. This isn't a memory test, it's a test of your systems thinking. So where does this all lead? Let's tie it all together. Look, mastering these skills isn't just about getting a certificate to hang on your wall. It's about fundamentally changing your role. It's about elevating yourself from just a reporter to a true sustainability strategist.
And this right here is the game changer. All that data you collect through a proper GRI process, It's not just for the glossy annual report anymore. That's old news. It's now what we call decision-grade information, and that means it's become absolutely critical to the core functions of the business.
And check this out. This shows you exactly how. We're talking about real, high-stakes business decisions. Lenders, they're using this data to decide who gets a loan. Insurance companies, they're using it to price risk. Your procurement department is using it to decide which suppliers to work with. Your legal team is using it to figure out litigation risk. I mean, this information is now directly shaping how and where money gets invested.
And honestly, this quote is probably the best piece of advice I can give you. Don't just study to pass a test. That's thinking too small. Your real goal should be to understand the entire journey. How raw data about a company's impact gets turned into information that people can actually trust, that they can compare, and that they can use to make huge business decisions. If you can adapt that mindset, it changes everything.
So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about as you prepare. Are you just studying to report on what's already happened, or are you learning the strategic language that will let you lead? The language that will let you influence how your entire organization is governed, how it's seen, and how it's ultimately valued in the years to come. That's the real choice here.